Howdy, y'all, and welcome to, I think this is video number 55. I'm going to continue on with the Priya Vedanta series. We're on number 3. I think we might get to the end of Pleroma here. We're, about 20 verses away. So I'm going to try and speed this up because basically the ground has been set. If you want to know, you're gonna have to watch it. I get it's 50 minutes, 60 minutes to get to this point. But basically, what we've got going on is thoughts and emotions and desires and drives and whatnot. They're fighting for attention in the theater of the mind, in the theater of reality, in the theater of the universe. The same metaphor from the micro to the macrocosm. It's all the same. We are the mirror of God, and all the way down from the smallest to the largest, you've got this dynamic where these entities are seeking attention. And so they're going to fight because consciousness has not come about yet. Sort of this wild, wild west kind of a thing. And so looking for a new sheriff. And so we're going to get one. We're going to start off on number 25. The fog of war clouds more than vision. Tragedy jolted the first thought awake, a foundational lesser god slain, father of many, and now casualty of war. And this father of many, it's actually it's a phrase I'm going to use over and over again. It appears a few more times in this first book, and it'll appear in the second book as well. And I'm connecting this initial fight, this initial war, with the story of the Anuma Elish. Parts of this is based upon that, and it's actually going to come up at the end of Anama. It'll come up again. And then I think that's it for this, but it's one of those phrases that will repeat many times where I'm trying to show this connection of all these different ancient stories. And I'm connecting the pieces together to show that, what am I trying to say? A lot of these stories are different, but they're explaining the same thing. And over time, as humanity spread out, the stories of they've mutated, but they really have a core central theme. And where I try and show that there is a core central theme of this same story just repeating itself over and over and over again. 27. Unsteady. The first thought. Heard a voice crack and cry out into the din. Who are you? And the lesser gods replied, who are you? The first thought turned away from the scene, falling silent, and wondered, was that me that cried out as the thunderous drums of war continued to beat? This is an image. It's another one that I've used to to construct this metaphysics and philosophy, and it's this idea of imagining being the first being to ever hear a voice in your head. Just how disconcerting that would be. I mean, you have no idea. And so that's what I'm trying to express here. Here we are. The first thought emanates into this in between kind of a world. It's the heavens beginning to form, and suddenly a war breaks out, people trying to take control. It's actually being itself trying to step forward, but is unsure. And because it's never happened before, it doesn't even know what it's doing and that it's doing anything. Let's continue. The first thought knowingly cried out, hear me now and stop this madness. And the drums beat a little louder, and the war raged harder. And of course, I mean, what are you gonna do? You have no experience, you have no knowledge. You can just, like a little baby, I want, I want. And of course, the world is gonna ignore you. The stability, the sanity of the first thought was threatened by the war. The lesser gods needed to be confronted on their level. And this is sort of the point to this whole the whole philosophy sort of based on this general idea that you have to gain control of your emotions. You have to gain control of your thoughts and your desires. None of these things are you. They're not you. Your body is not yours. Your thoughts, your senses, everything. None of your mind. None of it is you. And you have to gain control over this avatar. And so the fact that we need to gain control of our avatar, I'm mirroring back to the very, very beginning that it needed to gain control of reality itself. Reality would spin out of control if these desires and thoughts and memories and whatnot weren't confronted at base level. These things bubble up from below the deep and they rise up in desire and need attention to fuel. They need that energy to keep going. And it's going to take fighting back to establish order so that reality can exist. And we live within, well, some people believe that chaos is what rules the day. I don't believe so. I believe it's very ordered, very organized. And I think this is my way of using, myth to show that, chaos needed to be conquered. And it's through, not the first, not the first for any of this. Well, let's go ahead and continue. The first thought reached into the deep abyss and brought forth the Marsa, the mother, life, the flowing power of self-reflection. And from the vast expanse, the first thought fashioned Prakasa, the father, knowledge, the defining light of awareness shining forth. Now, here is something that I clearly have borrowed from Hindu philosophy, but I had to switch the genders. The mother and father represent the left and right hemisphere of our minds, of our brains. And the right is feminine and the left is masculine. This is Ian McGilchrist, Master and Emissary. But the mother is life. It's the power. It's the living information. And the father is the knowledge. These two, this is omniscience and omnipresence. Omniscience and whatever the other one is. I am so tired. Ran 7.5 miles. I've been working a lot. And I need to get this out there. And we are already at 8 or 9 minutes? If I start at 1.5 or 2 minutes. The father. This is almost a direct, imagine the Lion King. The father brings the little cub up there and says, everything that you see, it's the horizon. It's lateral. This is the realm of information. This is the left hemisphere. This is what is known. And the mother is, of course, the vertical. And it is what brings from down deep and reaches up high to bring new things into existence. This is, I believe I connect further on. This is where imagination is the father. It's the fruit of the father. It's taking what is known and creating something new. And intuition is the ability to reach into the unknown and bring something new into reality. And so it's this left and right hemisphere, this cross. This way is the father, this way is the mother. The mind is the middle. This is where we reside. This is the avatar. And by taking, it's also 2 dimensions. It's the X and Y axis, time being Z, to create the 3-dimensional reality. So these are the first 2 axes to map out reality. All that in that one sentence. And of course, then you have the whole Eastern philosophy, which we're not going to get into, about this reflecting and knowing. It's the light shining on the object and creating this knowing that there's only one source. I probably just said that wrong. I'm too tired. We're going to go on. 32. Together they entered the fray, pleading for the restoration of peace. Their appeals were denied. Again, no experience, no knowledge, no nothing. It's like, hey, fellas, can't we all just get along? Of course, didn't work. For the mother and father, failure was unthinkable. So they shifted roles from ambassadors to combatants, picked with their weapons and fought. The mother hurled herself upon the demons. The father took on the angels. The back and forth tension of battle is oppressive. Every step forward met with one step back. And this is the way several concepts going on here, but this is the way reality really kind of works. It's like if you build something great, it immediately begins to fall apart, and you have to maintain it. You have to live in it. You have to keep it alive. Entropy immediately, as soon as you went one step forward, like if you're like weeding your garden, you come back a couple days later, weeds are back. You paint your house, and a couple years later, you start seeing little spots, little imperfections start showing through. Doesn't matter what it is. You buy a brand new car, the hailstorm's going to come or something. Door dings or whatever, no matter what you try and do. This is the nature of reality. And so no matter how hard you fight, it seems like you're not getting anywhere. But you have to keep going. And I'm also hinting at this back and forth nature of reality. In the metaphysics of Gnostic Vedanta, what we have is we believe that like potential flows and awareness flows, and we meet these. And as we engage through the use of our awareness, we fuel this circuit, and as we engage with these things, they return back. It's like a choose your own adventure kind of a thing. There's a physicist who's talking about how the universe is like a neural net. I mean, exactly. We live in a living, breathing organism. And as this potential and awareness flow, we create consciousness and we create experience. And this circuit fuels source. And it generates the potential that comes. You take one step forward, new potential comes, pushes you back. Then you kind of figure it out. You push again, and it pushes back. You have this tension. That's our experience. That's our life. And that's why it feels oppressive at times, because it's always this back and forth, one step forward, one step back, especially when you don't have things figured out, when chaos is ruling the day of what is happening in this scene. It's like you really can't gain peace until you get your demons under control. Let's go on. Where are we at? Let's see, we're at 35. Adapting to their reality, the mother and father changed tactics, fighting side by side and slowly gaining ground and momentum. Yep. This is again hinting at the way reality works. You engage with the potential of the day, and you change it up. And that will change the potential that flows afterwards. you have to adapt. Deep within Source, a new force began to grow, giving them the strength to continue and to ignore their pain. With each step, they drew closer, nearer, strengthening their unity until they bonded, igniting a divine spark. In this moment, 3 great beings came to be. 37 shouldn't be there. Let's just get to the beings, and then we'll talk about that. The being of Source itself manifested as the eternal God. The first thought, the Mother and the Father, crystallized into the mind of the eternal being. And a new lesser God, the only one not born of limelight, but born of tension, love, the vitality that overcomes entropy. 39 here. This is new. I just sort of had this epiphany, I don't know, a month or two ago. I knew I hadn't addressed the concept of love when I wrote the story, and I hadn't quite figured out what I didn't have a definition. But as usual, you go to sleep and eventually the answers come to you. And then it was really Camus and his, discussion of Sisyphus. It changed everything. Once it gave me an insight into what love really is. It's this anti-entropy power. Like I said, everything we build, the universe, God constructed the universe, but it falls apart. The only thing that gives it order is love. This fight back against entropy. And basically, yeah. And once you understand that is the Christian definition of love, that is the Jesus definition of love, it's a profound understanding. And this one line, it changed everything about the way my metaphysics functions. I actually began to understand. And that's what's wrong with the world today, to be honest with you. Relationships don't last. People are looking for fulfillment or all these things, and they don't realize love doesn't come from someone who completes you. And it doesn't come from someone who, picks up things where you're weak, or any of these things that people are looking for today. When you truly love somebody, you don't want anything from them. You get in the fight just for the fight because you've accepted the nature of reality. You've accepted the nature of that human being. You actually can't hate anybody. Jesus tells the story of the Good Samaritan, because once you understand that every human being is exactly the same. If you think that someone is different than you and you hate a person or a group of people, you do not know what love is. Even the nastiest villains in all of history, if you hate them, you do not know what love is. It's a very it's not born of attention. It's not born of limelight. It is what keeps reality going. It's also probably why you have a lot of people that believe like suicide is the only unforgivable sin, of which I don't even know how to begin to talk about that. But I understand it because it's the love of existence and this acceptance of the way it is and getting in and fighting anyway. And to go against that is okay. But we also have the mind. So the mother and the father have become the brain. They fuse together And the first thought is now the mind that was created by the fusion of the three of them. So they are the mind of the eternal God. The eternal God is now manifested as a being. Love and the mind pulled it out of source and brought it into its own kind of like version of reality. Source had to manifest as a being in order for existence to exist. Existence to exist, how clever. Sort of like you have to have skin in the game. And so this is like the moments building into what becomes the universe. You have this great battle, and entities are dying before there's consciousness. There's just the power of awareness. There's this, primal fight for dominance, and the mind and consciousness is born, and being suddenly exists. And now it's, how do you live with that? What does it mean? Let's go on. Oh boy, we're getting kind of close. All right, so like I said, love is devastating, and it's going to take me a long time to even understand it. It is the most devastating word in the English language. It is the most devastating concept for humanity. Yeah. 40. Now the lesser gods were no match to battle with a unified being, and a great wave crashed down upon them. Order swept them from the field and their cherished stage. Yep. Once being came about and the mind solidified and became a singular entity, it's now able to keep emotions in check, thoughts in check, drives and needs and wants and desires, they're all in check, swept away. Vastness became their cage, and aimless wandering became their way, as peace was restored by divine decree. Access to the desired light was now denied, and the feared dark light beckoned those who did not obey. And what, of course, we're talking about here is power. This is the first battle, and like anyone would do that has no experience, no knowledge, no understanding, no wisdom, dominance, crush, sweep them from the field. You will obey or you will be punished. This is love does not rule the day, my friends. Not in the beginning. Love is just born. So that's what we're talking about here. They were just completely crushed by order. And as order does, as Jordan Peterson's famous talking about, it will ossify. It will first satisfied. The first thought longed to return to the old ways once again. Blissful awareness, peace. Back to like, what is it, verse 5 or 6? Just being aware, happy. Just meditating on the shores of infinity. Actually, eternity. The mother and father protested, but the first thought would not heed their pleas, and so the eternal God closed. And so the eyes of eternal God of the eternal. That's not right. And so the eyes of eternal God closed. I have to fix that. The lesser God sensed a shift. Chaos rising. The cage door open. Opportunity. This is that whole Marduk kind of thing where it's like you have to have eyes all the way around your head. You have to like constantly be vigilant, because as soon as you stop paying attention, entropy, everything falls. All the demons and the angels and whatnot, thoughts, emotions, drives, needs, wants, desires are all going to come crawling back. You can't just tell them, stay in the corner. They're not going to stay. And of course, again, no wisdom, no experience, novelty. It's all brand new. No one knows what to do. They gathered once more, this time no bickering, no wrestling, united by a singular thought. Overthrow the eternal God and retake what is rightfully theirs, the stage. And here we have a lesson learned in game theory. It's like you played the game, you lost. All right. Last time we were kind of loud, causing a ruckus. This time, let's try and do it stealthily. Let's see what happens. However, the lesser gods misunderstood the nature of their new existence. The mind of the eternal God awoke, and another great wave crashed down and swept the rebellion away. So here we still have the power is still there, but it has to remain focused. It has to remain aware. It has to pay attention. Pay attention. If you're not paying attention, these things will creep back up on you stealthily. That's all we're saying here. Let's see. This time to establish true peace and order, Row 46. The lesser gods were leashed to the mind of the eternal God and allowed to scrabble out their own rank and role within the bounds of divine will. You can't just shun these things away. You sort of have to accept that. You know what? When you're hungry, you're hungry. And you just need to pay attention to it and not allow it to take control. And you don't want to keep it in the dark and allow it to, manifest as some sort of disease, like anorexia or bulimia or anything. All sorts of things like this. You need to allow them to do what they do, but pay attention and make sure everything stays balanced. With the eternal God now focused inward, at peace, aware, the mind of the eternal God turned outward, their dimension evolving and blooming with complexity. The first thought allowed the mother and father's intuition and imagination to wander, to ponder knowledge, power, purpose, limitation, boundary, definition, meaning. Why is this all the way down there? Intuition and imagination, I talked about it earlier. These are the fruits. These are the power of the left and right, of knowledge and energy, and the ability to create new things out of that which is already known, and the ability to manifest something new out of that which is unknown. Pondering became desire, and love struck true. Together they grew and grew, swelling into a plan. And so this is how we end Pleroma. We have the mind of the eternal wondering, what does it all mean? We just fought this great battle to gain control, to take control of our own consciousness, but now what? This is the eternal questions of what it means to be a human being, which is the whole point of the rest of the books. Again, this is a prequel to Genesis, this Anama. The next part, not the next chapter, but the next part will begin with Genesis. But in this prequel, we're trying to, and throughout the whole 5 books, what does it mean to be a human being? Why are we here? How do we live a good life? So here I'm saying, God is wondering that, but it's also us. Again, we're the divine mirror. If we're trying to answer these questions, then perhaps these are the questions. And again, it's unknowable. This is a meditation on something that is unknowable. But by taking a look at the way our reality appears to work, perhaps we can figure it out, or at least give ourselves the greatest chance at the best possible life that we can have. And that's the point of all philosophy. That's the point of all religion. Now, they all get corrupted, of course. But the questions will always be there. So we're coming up on 30 minutes, it looks like. So we're going to go ahead and end this here. I'll probably make a video in between before I start on the next chapter. The next chapter is emanation. We're actually going to get into creation a little bit. Learn to control your attention. This is the currency of our reality. And once you gain control of that, you can then use intuition and imagination to actually change this world. Don't listen to people who say that you can't. They just don't know how to access the tools so that you can. And with that, my friends, I will see you on the next one.